She studied every night for 3 months. No parties. No lazy weekends. Just books, notes, and coffee. But one evening, she opened Instagram. Her classmate just got a dream job in London. Another friend posted photos from a trip to Japan. And suddenly, 3 months of hard work felt like nothing. Here's something surprising. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that just 10 minutes on social media can lower your confidence. 10 minutes. That's less time than 1 cup of coffee. So why does comparing yourself to others feel so natural, and hurt so much? Today we follow one person's story to find out. And you'll learn some powerful words to talk about this feeling in English. And suddenly, your Sunday morning feels smaller. Your life feels slower. You feel like you are losing a race you did not even know you had entered. Does this sound familiar? If it does, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not broken. You are human. But today, I want to tell you a story. A story about a man named Daniel. And I want to show you how comparison almost destroyed something truly wonderful, and what he learned when he finally stopped. Daniel was 31 years old and worked as a graphic designer in a medium-sized city. He was good at his job. Not famous, not celebrated, but good. He had a small apartment, a few close friends, and a hobby he loved. He painted watercolor pictures on weekends. From the outside, Daniel's life looked fine. From the inside, Daniel felt like a failure every single day. The reason was simple. He had a college friend named Marcus. And Marcus, it seemed, had everything. Marcus had started his own design agency at 28. By 31, he had 15 employees, a beautiful office, and his work was featured in international magazines. Marcus posted about it constantly. New client. New award. New office renovation. New everything. Daniel followed every post. And every post felt like a small punch to the stomach. He began to measure his own life against Marcus's highlights. His small apartment against Marcus's open-plan office. His quiet weekends against Marcus's business trips to Milan and New York. His watercolor hobby against Marcus's growing empire. And slowly, Daniel stopped painting. It did not happen all at once. First he told himself he was too tired. Then he told himself painting was just a childish hobby. Then he told himself that if he could not be great at something, what was the point of doing it at all? He started working longer hours, chasing a version of success that looked exactly like Marcus's. He took on projects he did not enjoy. He spent money on things that looked impressive rather than things that made him happy. He was performing a life, not living one. His close friend Yara noticed the change. One evening she asked him directly, "Daniel, when did you last paint something?" He could not remember. "When did you last feel genuinely happy about your work?" she asked. He had no answer. Yara looked at him for a moment. Then she said something very simple. She said, "You have been so busy watching Marcus's race that you forgot you were running a completely different one." Daniel did not want to hear it. He said she was wrong. He said he was just being ambitious. He went home feeling frustrated. But that night, something shifted. He sat in his apartment and thought about the last time he had felt truly satisfied. Not impressive. Not successful by someone else's definition. Just genuinely satisfied. And the memory that came to him was not a work achievement. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon, 2 years earlier. He had spent 4 hours painting a small watercolor of an old bridge near his grandmother's house. He had not shown it to anyone. He had not posted it anywhere. He had simply painted it, held it up, and felt completely at peace. That memory felt very far away now. He opened his laptop that night and did something he had not done in a long time. He looked at his old paintings. He had dozens saved in a folder he had not opened in almost a year. And as he looked through them, he felt something unexpected. He felt proud. Not because they were better than someone else's work. Not because they would win any award or get any attention. But because they were his. They were honest. They were made with care and attention and love. They were the truest version of himself. But here is what almost no one talks about when we discuss comparison. The problem is not that we notice other people's success. That is completely natural. The real problem is what we do with that information. When we compare, we are almost always making a fundamental mistake. We are comparing our inside story to someone else's outside story. We see Marcus's award. We do not see the 3 failed projects before it. We see the beautiful apartment. We do not see the debt behind it. We see the perfect photo from Japan. We do not see the loneliness that sometimes follows a person from city to city. This is not about saying other people are secretly unhappy. Some of them are genuinely doing well. That is fine. That is allowed. The point is that you are comparing your complete, messy, complicated inner experience to a carefully selected highlight from someone else's life. It is like comparing your entire kitchen, with the dirty dishes and the spilled coffee and the half-eaten toast, to a photograph of someone else's kitchen taken 5 minutes after they cleaned it for a magazine shoot. Of course your kitchen looks worse. That comparison was never fair to begin with. Daniel began to understand this slowly. He started to ask himself a new question. Not, am I doing better than Marcus, but instead, am I doing better than I was last year? That shift sounds small. It is actually enormous. Because when you compare yourself to your past self, the measurement becomes real. It becomes personal. It becomes yours. Had Daniel grown as a designer in the last year? Yes. He had learned new skills, handled more complex projects, and improved his technical ability. When he measured honestly, the answer was clear: he had moved forward. Had he grown as a person? He was less sure. He had become more anxious, more distracted, more disconnected from the things that gave him real joy. That was useful information too. He started painting again. Just 1 hour on Saturday mornings. Small paintings, no pressure, no audience. And something strange happened. His work at the design agency began to improve. Not because he was working harder, but because he was drawing again from a place of genuine interest rather than desperate competition. His ideas became more original. His clients noticed a different quality in his work, something warmer and more personal. One client told him, "I don't know what changed, but your recent work feels like it actually came from a real person." It had. Because Daniel had come back to himself. He also made one more change. He unfollowed Marcus. Not with anger. Not with jealousy. He simply decided that watching Marcus's story was not helping him write his own. This is something worth thinking about carefully. We often follow people online because we tell ourselves it is inspiring. Sometimes it is. But sometimes what we call inspiration is actually just a slow drip of anxiety that we have learned to tolerate. If looking at someone's life makes you feel energized and curious and motivated, that is real inspiration. Keep that. If looking at someone's life makes you feel smaller, slower, or like you are permanently behind, that is not inspiration. That is a habit that is costing you something. You are allowed to protect your attention. You are allowed to choose what you let into your mind each morning. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Daniel is not a famous story. He did not start a company or win an award or appear in a magazine. He is just a man who found his way back to himself. Today, 3 years later, he still works as a graphic designer. He still lives in a medium-sized apartment in a medium-sized city. He has a small online following for his watercolor paintings, not huge, but genuine. People who connect with his work. And on Sunday mornings, when he sits with his coffee and the house is quiet, he keeps his phone on the table face down. Not forever. Just for the first hour. Just long enough to remember who he is before the world tells him who he should be. He told Yara recently, "I wasted 2 years trying to run Marcus's race. The problem was it was never my race. I was built for something else entirely. And the moment I stopped watching his lane, I finally started moving in mine." So what does this mean for you? Imagine yourself waking up tomorrow morning and asking just one question before you open any app, before you check any feed, before you see anyone else's life. The question is this: what is one small thing I can do today that is true to who I actually am? Not who you think you should be. Not who someone else appears to be. Who you actually are. Maybe it is writing something. Maybe it is making something with your hands. Maybe it is calling someone you love. Maybe it is sitting quietly for 10 minutes and remembering what you actually care about. The comparison trap is powerful because it disguises itself as motivation. It says, "Look how far behind you are. You need to move faster." But it never tells you which direction to move. It just makes you run harder with no destination. Real motivation feels different. Real motivation says, "Here is something worth building. Here is something worth caring about. Here is a version of yourself worth becoming. And that version is yours." It is not a copy. It is not a reaction to someone else. It is something original and specific and true. You have something that Marcus does not have. That your colleague does not have. That any person you admire online does not have. You have your exact combination of experience, perspective, struggle, and ability. There is no one else on this planet who sees the world from precisely where you stand. That is not a small thing. That is actually everything. The world does not need another Marcus. The world already has one. What the world needs, what it is actually missing, is a fully realized version of you. And here is the action I want you to take right now. Not tomorrow. Right now, in this moment. Open your phone or a piece of paper and write down one thing you used to do that made you feel genuinely like yourself. Something you stopped doing because it did not seem impressive enough, or productive enough, or successful enough by someone else's measurement. Write it down. Just the one thing. Then block 30 minutes this week, not to be great at it, not to post it, not to show anyone, just to do it. Just to feel what it feels like to be in your own lane again. That is where everything starts. Not with a dramatic decision or a life overhaul. Just with 30 minutes of being honestly, quietly, unapologetically yourself. Your race is already happening. It has been happening your whole life. You just need to stop watching the wrong scoreboard long enough to see how far you have actually come.